Hello, everybody. Let's see, David. I think it says that we are live, and I am
Recording in progress.
going, okay, we are live. So, welcome, everybody. It is Thursday. So glad to have you here. If you're here, then you are in the right place. This is where the Soul Tribe meets, and we just we get together and we talk. We get to talk about the things that sometimes not everybody else is talking about, and sometimes it's what everybody is talking about. So I just speak favor over you. Happy birthday if you've got one. I know David Perry, Big Al's partner over the road. Happy birthday to you, dude. I think it's tomorrow, but hey, never a problem getting too early. Let's see. I'll just take care of some other business before I get David involved in the conversation. Tonight on artistfirst.com, the Steiger perspective. Tune in, folks. If you're an American, particularly, tune in. This will probably be, I think, one of the most important discussions that I have had on the Steiger perspective. There is some very dangerous things taking place in the United States. So tune in tonight, artistfirst.com, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain. Figure out where you are in the time zone, but definitely tune in. It's, folks, it's frightening. And that's all I can say. Hello, Nina the Mystic. I tell you what, we're going to have her on Tuesday. Martin and Heidi from Norway, how are you doing? Robert V is in the house. Susie Q. One other little bit of self-promotion. And, you know, David, I like self-promotion, to be honest with you. I think it's healthy. I think it's good.
Yeah.
David has really, I think, done an outstanding job in so many areas of helping this tribe in the technology, music, graphics, and etc. The list goes on, David. It's remarkable. You're a very talented spirit man. You put together this merchandise site. You gotta love it. I mean, if you're into gift giving, you should really give a lot of the R. Wayne Steiger teddy bears. I'm just saying, or you can go with the Milky Way Soul Tribe. But you know, I'm just saying, if I mean, David, if I had to make a choice, nothing against Robert V, but you know, anyway, seriously, but and maybe you ought to buy two. One of the I Am the Soul Tribe, and the other one with the Milky Way Soul Tribe. Then that way you have a pair. So that solves that dilemma. I bought some of the gear today. This is some far out stuff, David. You want to talk about it a little bit? Because this is just cool.
Thank you. Yeah, basically it's a shop I've created for the Soul Tribe. So as you can all see, this is sort of merchandise that you get on most websites. Kind of what did it initially, because I wanted to bring together everybody in as a focal point. I know it's a bit of an odd one that you might first think of, but I've got plans for uniting as many soul tribes as I can. And this will be sort of like one of the focal points for this endeavor, is that they can come to this place as a portal. It's not like we Andromeda episode portal, obviously, but from here, from other websites, other forums, they can come here. As you can see, there's one in there. I've done Unite the Tribes. That's my first sort of
I love this bucket hat. I mean, there's like everything you can freaking think about in here. I mean,
yeah, I was amazed when I contacted them. The just sheer amount of items that they do. There's all sorts, like there's that cup there. That's a logo I'm still working on. But yeah, there's all sorts, anything you would want in it.
My wife wants one of the one on I Am the Soul Tribe, so got to get her a coffee cup. She just, you know, and but you know, it's, I think the diversity of the merchandise is what's quite
something for everybody and for all budgets as well. You know, if you feel that you want to have a bit like myself, I haven't got a huge budget, but if you want to feel that you're part of something, you want to feel that you're part of it, you could just buy some of the badges. I think that's probably the cheapest thing on there. So I tried to cater for all sort of budgets.
This is what I ordered right here. I ordered cool. That color there. Nice. I mean, that's just sharp, you know. That's all I
it's all say. Good quality merchandise. It's all really good stuff. On the t-shirt side of it, you can get your there's 15, 20 different types of t-shirt I can choose for you guys to have. So you've got the premium ones, you've got the basics, so like work ones, but there's also a designer one in there as well. So again, catering for all different budgets. If you want, you want to have a smart, tight fitting one, there's one like that. That's me on the right there. If you want to have a nice tight fitting one, like that gentleman on the right there, the Price. Or if you want to have a nice loose one, like the gentleman on the left there.
Yeah, it kind
there's
of fits both ways. It's kind of like, yeah.
I didn't. I could have modeled for that actually.
I think it'd have been great. I think we should get this. This is
if anybody, when the merchandise does take off, if anybody wants to send in, I will be going there on my channel and what have you, gone through yourself hopefully. If anybody would like to send in a photograph of themselves actually wearing the merchandise, that'll go into an advert for the site itself.
I love the graphics here, dude. I mean, this is some powerful stuff you've laid out there. It's Lilith. Yeah. I mean,
and that's powerful. The full Lilith there, as you probably well know, not just the small one.
Yeah. I think this is just about the coolest stuff ever, man. I mean, I'm impressed, dude. That's all I got to say. Just very, very. And it looks like you can actually add a design and a text on.
I was just going to say that if anybody wants, they can go on here and they can customize them themselves, or if they want, if they're not too sure, they can ask me and I'll do it for them. So you can have your own name on there, a website on there. You can even incorporate other logos on there. So it's so flexible. I can do pretty much anything.
We really ought to start chapters. We have people all over the world, and this would be the time where a person could actually be, like head of the chapter of, the Soul Tribe.
Exactly, that's what I was referring to when I'm getting all these different groups. If you go on Facebook, all these other different media outlets, there's so many groups calling themselves Soul Tribe, and they do pretty much the same thing we do, not to quite such an extent because they haven't got such a good bus driver as yourself, giving them as much knowledge and what have you. But they're all on the same journey as we are. So it's all about uniting those tribes, getting them together. Because if you go on into his story, we've been told, Genghis Khan, what did he do? He united all the tribes of Mongolia, took over the best part of the world.
Yes, he did. Yes,
he did. So maybe we can achieve this. Not maybe, we do achieve the same thing, but in a peaceful manner.
This is
going out helping people.
And I think of the work that Nina has with the Anakanrana. Yeah. I know how to spell it. Yes, but this is just marvelous, David. I just love this. It's just, and even in the United States, I know that this is primarily set up for the UK, but the delivery on it is relatively short. I was really quite impressed with that.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. The items themselves come from Germany. They're the company that will actually print everything off and dispatch it for me. They're very quick. From the orders I've received so far, they're in and out in a matter of a day or two.
Yeah, 7 days is for over here, which is so, folks, it's the opportunity. If you are so inclined, check it out. I think it's a beginning. We've got to change the vibe of this planet, David. I mean, it's becoming so oppressive that and this is why I love the topic, and I thank you for coming on, brother. It's always a pleasure and an honor and a joy to have an individual with the remarkable knowledge that you possess and have, and a lot of us all have knowledge, but again, it's kind of like when you're in a repository, and this is why I enjoy having you on. And I was thinking in one of my meditation sessions that the thing about magic, when I was in Christianity, magic was considered that of the devil. Anything to do with the occult was of Satan and, damnation in hell. And, that is a good psychological trick because you get most people to believe that and they'll self-police themselves.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like,
It's the same thing with when we're kids, I think. That's why we get partly taught about Father Christmas and the Tooth Fairy out. There's no kids watching. So that when you get to that certain age, you get disillusioned in magic. And then from that point onwards, that's ingrained in your mind, in the back, just in the back of your mind, that magic's not real.
yeah, and no matter what you see, it fantasizes your mind, but deep down, you're not going to give it any belief. You're not going to give it any credence
Yeah.
because you know if you go there, then you have crossed a line.
Yeah, exactly. With the religions, you think you're going to go to hell, don't you?
Mhm.
Don't want to go there.
Don't want to go
So,
there. But the dichotomy of the thing from my experience is that particularly when you if and my indoctrination was the Bible, is that the Bible is filled with magic. I mean, it's filled
yeah,
with spells, it's filled with incantations, it's filled with conjuring spirits. I mean,
yeah.
if
And that's just the exoteric side of it.
no, the literal side of it. I mean, this is
Yeah,
quite amusing. So the thought then occurred to me, okay, I began to think about, all right, and I've been at this a while. Recently counted, I have nearly 2,600 books on ebooks. That this is what's amazing about this day and age. The information is
yeah,
there in
yeah,
abundance. I mean,
yeah.
there's no reason to be stupid about this. But
No,
anyway, I began to think about, all right, magic. So where was the first time that I can recall where I actually get into magic, and we're going to get into this a little bit, was Solomon Keys. I mean,
yeah.
that's about, I would say that probably predates the Kabbalah by, I don't know. I would,
It's not far off, really, is it? I think
it's,
the Kabbalah's what, about 12th, 13th century, somewhere
yeah,
around
yeah.
there.
And
I
if you
would say,
take the genre of Solomon, what are we looking at? Something BC for sure,
yeah,
but refined. So I said, okay, so Solomon, all right, I'd say that he was the first cat. Um, but then it began to occur to me, well, now wait a minute. Did man invent magic, or were we taught magic? And if we were taught magic, by whom? And if
yeah.
we say that the whom was something of a spiritual nature, off-world nature, it seems like then ET may have been the originator of teaching us magic, which was maybe nothing more than technology.
Well, yeah, it very well could be. I think it probably could have been like we had our own version of maybe, but weren't quite getting it right. So we had like the people, the very smart people, trying to explain the relationship between the all, everything, and humanity. They maybe probably came up with a very clever version of, as you said. But then I'm sure something came in, sort of helped us out with a little bit of a cheat sheet. So I said, you're almost there, guys, but you want to be going, you want to be going this way. You're going that way. Hang on,
Sure.
come around this way. Somebody certainly sort of headed us in the right direction, I feel. Whether they're external or internal or extraterrestrial or interterrestrial, we have to see, don't we?
And I guess then it comes down, what is the purpose of magic?
Well, it depends which school and thought you're going down there, really, doesn't it? It's either manipulate the world around you to your will, or it's to manipulate is to better yourself internally.
I think it's the first one.
Control.
I think it is. Isn't it about self-control, manipulating the elements to bend to your will and to your desire? Isn't that what magic really? And
Yeah,
isn't that akin to what prayer is?
basically, yeah.
I
It's a
mean,
form of divination in a way.
isn't it? I mean, buddy, I know about prayer. I mean, I still got the freaking, calluses on my knees. I gave more blowjobs to that God than I did any other being. And so, the point is that, I looked at prayer and I started breaking prayer down and I go, oh crap. I mean, this is a freaking incantation is what it is.
Basically, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
dear God, please strike, Mary down the street who hurt my, and I mean, you can go by curses. You can go by, persuasion, but prayer is, I guess, if you really want to get down to the brass tacks, is a form of magic itself, isn't it?
In a way, yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you.
I never thought of it about that way, but these revelations in this day and hour, you're going, I never
Yeah,
thought
well,
about that.
it's just like a form of divination prayer, isn't it? And
It
us
is.
as an antenna works both ways. As we get our signals coming in, giving us our knowings and all the other things. Well, obviously, they come from internal as well. But we're an antenna external as well, so we can send out. And that's what you're doing when you're sitting there giving a BJ to your
I mean, sorry for the bluntness, folks, but I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean,
yeah, you're acting as an antenna,
I don't
sending
know
a signal out.
what worship means. It's the song by YouTube, if you want to learn how to pray, get down on your knees, boy. So, I always thought that line
I'm
of
so
lyrics.
glad I never went to church.
Oh man, you missed it. I mean, because I consider myself a wizard. I do. And a wizard is just one who has knowledge of the occult. It's really how I look at it.
Wise one. Yeah, wise one.
Yeah. A working knowledge of it. But David, there was a time, because magic, prayer, incantations, conjuring, there was a time in the group that I hung out with, which were called the charismatic group, the Pentecostal group. We would spend 4 or 5 hours praying in tongues.
Yeah.
And, as I look back now, that was no different than a coven of individuals who may say practice Wicca, or any other form of group magic. There's no difference.
It's quite shamanic in a way as well, isn't it? You're doing it 4 or 5 hours, you're getting into a trance state.
Oh, yeah, and it does get you into a trance. Yeah. I've had more out-of-body experiences praying in tongues than I ever realized.
Yeah, well, that's just like where you're drawing from, where it's drawn from different cultures, different rituals to come together and form that one, isn't it? It's like you're doing an element of shamanism there as well as all the other different things.
When I went on my vision quest at the young age of 17, it was real interesting because the Native American tribe that we were with, the same process. There was this chanting, which then became almost, and it was a mantra. And as you got into the chant, of course, the peyote was taking effect at that point as well. But I mean, you're off.
Yeah, well, as soon as that DMT kicks in, that's when you get the real power, isn't it?
In different levels. I mean, you go through the animal kingdom. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, but in the spiritual plane, there is an animal spiritual plane.
Yeah, definitely. There's spirits just like us.
Yeah. I mean, highly organized, very much developed, but yeah, that's and getting back to that point though, all of these are a form of what I call organized magic.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Have you had any experiences in that area with a group of people and getting into strictly for the aspect of kind of opening the astral doors?
No, with I don't know, we've discussed previously. I'm very lucky. I didn't have any religious experience growing up. My grandparents, my parents tried making me go to Sunday school, but I got kicked out on the first occasion, being called the son of Satan. Must have been asking the wrong questions. So fortunately, my life never took off down that path. I did always have an interest in religion. Growing up, even from a small child, I was sort of asking questions and I kind of wanted to go to church, that kind of thing. But because of the fear-based paradigm that I now understand, as a little child, you're like, oh, I don't want to die. I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to go to scary, it's like being a kid, isn't it? You don't want to go to a scary place, so you get led into these things. I was even asking my mum, you go, no, I'm not religious, because I still get baptized. I thought, what's the point in that then? you're not religious, and am I ever glad that she didn't say yes and take me and get baptized?
The mind of a child, you're allowed to love it.
So exactly, you're just trying to survive. You don't know what death is, so you're just trying to survive it, aren't you? So no, I'm really lucky that I haven't had that, and I've never been a member of any sort of organisations that would do anything like that.
So how do you find your spiritual journey? I mean, and particularly interesting.
Mine's all internal thing and solitary, unfortunately. Where I live, there isn't anybody anywhere near where I am. There is a Theosophy Society in Cardiff, but Theosophy's not the right way. It's a good stepping stone, maybe, if you're just getting into these sorts of things. But
And it is a stepping stone. It's not a pillar.
Yeah, exactly. It's not something just to dwell on, just like a lot of these things. And actually, that brings me around to the Kabbalistic side of it and things of that nature with magic, because they're also stepping stones. You could be at one level, and when you're first initiated in, you think, that's it, this is it, I found it. But then that's just the first degree. Once you comprehend that one, you're ready to go up levels and levels and levels of esotericism. But obviously, being esoteric, you need to have a background knowledge to comprehend what it is you're learning.
And isn't it interesting? You know, I have the Golden Dawn here. I just use as a reference.
Just a little light reading, isn't it? Yeah. I'm glad I got a PDF version.
If you ever have a problem with insomnia, this one.
Or an open door.
Exactly. But it's so interesting because this book, as you know, is strongly predicated upon the Kabbalah thinking. It's got the Hebraic deity associated with it. Yet, like in book 7, it's interesting, it just opened up to this: clairvoyance, talismans, sigils, how to charge them, how to pile them. And it's odd because it's like, now, wait a minute. This God is the same God that I recognize, but they didn't teach me in Sunday school.
No, I wouldn't.
I can guarantee you, wasn't in no Bible class I was in either.
Yeah, exactly.
But yet you have a man who, Israel Regardie, who spent most of his life writing this.
Yeah. Most of it comes from Mysticism as well, with correspondences I found. Where you get your correspondences with colors and sounds and all these sorts of things.
And heavily influenced by other dominions, other spirit beings, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, you're teaching humanity, right?
Yeah. Well, somebody certainly was trying to teach humanity. If you go by the God of your Bible, then isn't that Yaldabaoth?
Same in the one, the same.
So basically, using the same technologies, magics that he used to create this, that's how he's trying to explain to us. These are the toys you need to use to play within this sandbox.
In fact, I love how you said that, David, because that theory goes on. Well, it's not a theory; it's an ideology at this point. That all of this is magic. None of this is real. If you study quantum mechanics, everything is built on molecule adhesion, just different combinations.
Different number of electrons, that's it.
Yes, sir. And so a solid object really isn't solid. I mean, this is an illusion.
Yeah.
So that makes that God, that deity, wow, one of mystery, one of that, the fact that you have to begin to adjust to that. It's very bizarre when you think about it.
Yeah. And I also feel, I don't know this for definite, but I also feel that he may have created all this, but once it was created, he could have no longer control over it. But whereas we, through these tools that we've been given, because we hold something higher than it, we can control it, we can manipulate it, which is something that he can't do.
I think there's a lot of foundation to the fact that it basically got out of control. It's like
big time.
It was the experiment that wasn't supposed to turn out this way. It's like, oh crap!
Big time.
It didn't have anything to do with it.
Do what we can do.
Yeah, and it's true. All right, so I love this discussion because if we step that back, because what we're talking about, particularly the mysticism of religions. Islam has its mysticism side, Judaism has its, Christianity. They don't want to admit it, but it does.
Yeah, mystical side.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, that's what I used to tell people, you know, come to my church because you'll see God in action. And people will say, what do you mean? And I said, well, I'll show you things from the unseen spirit realm in here.
Mm-hmm.
And that always freaked people out. What do you mean you can
Did you get
show?
many people joining you?
Actually had one family did. and, you know, of course, when you start seeing the gifts of the Holy Spirit to a newbie, that's paranormal.
Yeah, well, it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. And listen, that's what people really seek God for, is the supernatural. They want to see a supernatural display.
Yeah, but the
That's what
problem
they
with
want to
that
see.
is if somebody needs proof to believe something, they won't accept the proof that they're shown.
Never will. You'll doubt it all the time.
You need to get there yourself. If you're not there yourself, you know, to show you a unicorn farting behind me and you wouldn't believe it, you'd ask computer graphics or something. But
because you're always visiting someone else's house.
Yeah,
the day that you make it your house, then things begin to change.
Nice way of putting it. I like that.
Yeah. You can use it, by the way.
I won't put it on a t-shirt yet.
All right. So let's continue this, because this all goes back to where we now know from the Indus Valley, which is India, coming into Samaria, which is the Sumerians, that they had a complete culture, complete, pantheon of gods, Enki, Inyel, the whole bit.
So they say.
And then I'm thinking, all right, they say that these Enki was probably most likely reptilian. So I have a book I want to share with everyone. And this is going to be fun, David. So this is The Secret History of the Reptilians, the pervasive presence of the serpent in human history, religion, and alien mythos.
Cool.
So this brings up a real interesting question then. Did the reptilians, who may have came from, I think maybe Orion star system, I don't know, did they bring us and teach us magic? Because if it goes back to the reptilian, the serpent, that's a common denominator both in religion and in the occult.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's your thoughts on this? It's just interesting that, and I've done enough studies on this, folks. There's enough in the archives that as far back as you want to go, there was always the serpent, always. And the serpent is equated with wisdom, healing.
Yeah, it was. That was healing, wisdom. You've got the caduceus as well, obviously going up your spine into your mind. Yeah, to me, that makes perfect sense that would happen. I'm pretty certain there would be a race of reptilians that have been on this planet actually a lot longer than we have been here for, and they don't necessarily have to be extraterrestrial. Oh, that parcel's just arrived.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I can easily handle it.
Sorry, guys, I'll be back now.
Everyone's got to do this. So everyone, I'll just stop here and we'll pick up when David gets back, but I'll just say, hey, everyone in the chat room, how are y'all doing? Isn't this an interesting discussion? I mean, we're about to go into some PDFs, just to let you know ahead of time, that really begins to make this, well, what is magic? It works, particularly if you know how to work it. So who taught us this? It's very evident that all magic, and we'll wait till David gets in here, has a spiritual component to it. Pamela Jean, yeah, she says, I know nothing about reptilian aliens, but they must exist. There is lots of evidence. Yep. Alpha says the reptilians were the teachers of the feminine aspect of the goddess wisdom. I can dig that. Hello, Divine Empress. How are you doing? Scotty Boy, what's up? Saturn Raindrops, hello. Justice for All, just saying hi. Gilbert, what's up? Robert V. Can't wait to get the books. Hey, I'm right there with you. Hey, Grace, what's happening? This is a fantastic topic if you look at this, because it permeates every aspect of reality. Magic. And if what is magic? I mean, if the purpose of a god is to make sure that that god's will is in fact done, well, then that means there's a manipulation taking place. So,
Hello.
hey, David.
Sorry about that, guys.
So, as we were just talking, the fact is that if you look at this and we look at the reptilians, and it appears that there is lots of evidence that they are there. All magic, whether it's through religion, whether it's through the occult or otherwise, all has a spiritual component to it.
Yeah.
Now that's an interesting thing, because if you bring in the spiritual element to magic, because the magic that I have read, the magic that I have practiced, I'm just thinking, I'm going, okay, yeah, because it is a spiritual component.
You need faith for it to work, really, don't you?
Exactly. And so if we look then at the lesser keys of Solomon, which I call probably this enlightened me more than Crowley, more than anyone else. Did it when you read it? I mean, this.
Yeah, it totally spoke to me when I read this.
It affected my dreams for 6 months, David.
Yeah, well, it's coding your mind. The sigils, they're like short circuits for your mind. So just looking at them does things. It makes you the same as if you're listening to theta waves. If you listen to theta waves, beta waves, any waveform, you entrain your mind to go into that state. So I believe these do the same or similar on your mind. It connects neural pathways within your mind that give you information or whatever.
It's in fact, I have the fourth seal of Jupiter right behind me on my office wall.
I carry a couple with me at all times.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got my crystal in my carry case.
Yep. All I know is that there was a psychic connection, particularly with that particular pentacle, that was very strong. But again, I think that this book probably, and I have it in print and otherwise, this one did move me the most. You know, you just,
that's for sure.
Yeah. And everything about this knowledge is about, how would I say, see if this resonates with you, David. It's controlling spiritual beings that have a control over the physical world.
Yeah.
That if you invoke them, if you command them, if you bind them, they will do your will and literally change the reality of your reality. That's the thing that I got. I've talked to a couple of these spirits. I've shown everyone the magic circle that I use, and they're real.
Yeah, I believe they very well are. They very well could be anyway. The way I perceive it is actually, like we've spoken about at least on one other occasion, is giving it the analogy of a computer operating system with the daemons running in the background. These are the entities that are actually making sure that this reality is working the way that it's supposed to work. Now, obviously, if you can know the name of one and know what it does, then you can control it. So, yeah.
Yeah. It is. And I tell you, there is, which formed my perception of the afterworld, what I call the realm of the living. I think that what I have gotten at that the spirits are as much interested in the land of the dead, this place, than anything else, because apparently in the planes of existence, these planes are very rare.
Yeah, and I've sort of coming to feel lately, well, say lately, over a years and years process now, that this seems to me like one of the lower astrals.
Yes, thank you.
You know, I've heard it sort of said that when you pass over from the land of the living, the first couple of astral levels, you just become so obsessed with being able to change your appearance and things of this nature that very rarely will you ever get out of this level, because you're so obsessed with, like, oh, my hair looks nice, my boots look nice, all these sorts of things. You're concerned with what people, masks are being put upon you, you're concerned with day-to-day life and rituals, all these sorts of things. You get so bogged down in the mundane that you don't ever realize that there's another 20 levels above this, where if you can get out of these first 5 or however many, then you're going to be living joyfully and blissfully for eternity, because there's no time there probably either.
As you were talking, it just reminded me of the fact of why we have mirrors. If we didn't have a mirror,
I haven't got
each individual, they wouldn't know what they actually look like other than what their self-image on the inside. It's when we see these physical faces that the spell is cast. And again, like you said,
that's why I don't own a mirror.
Oh, you don't own a mirror?
I haven't owned a mirror personally in about 20 years. When I got with my partner, obviously having a female around the place, mirrors were brought into the house. But now we're separated again. There was a mirror here when I moved in, but that's turned around facing the wall. If ever I look at myself now, I just do it very briefly to make sure I'm acceptable for civilization, and I don't look like a caveman with beans in my beard or anything like that. But I look at myself through my phone for like 5 seconds.
How interesting. Now, I'm glad we're talking about this, because I have read a lot of different beliefs and different cultures. What we would call the more primitive cultures, I think they're the more enlightened beings, but they are the ones who said that if you look at your reflection in a mirror, that your soul becomes captured.
This is a good synchronicity. I had a little download on this a little while ago.
Let's talk.
With the Hopis, the Native Americans, these are the best tribe that I can think of. Obviously, you got the Cree and the other ones, but they got taken in the earth by the Ant people, blah, blah, blah. I know you're aware of these things. But, you know, it's said that they lived through, what, 2 worlds? I think it's 2 different worlds, 2 different world endings. When I was a kid, I remember watching cowboy films, as you do, and I'm assuming it's through a cowboy films. Like, yeah, this, I don't know if it's true or not, but the Native Americans say that if you take your photograph, that you're taking your soul. Now, as a kid, just took it at face value. How would these primitive people think that I could take your soul away? It's just a photograph. But now, I think I've come to realize that because they've actually lived through 2 world cycles, they've seen the people taking photographs of their food every mealtime. They've seen people taking their selfies, and they know that will take your soul. Literally, you'll become soulless. You don't care about what's on the inside. You're so concerned with what's on the outside that you're no longer the being that you were when you came in. Do you get it?
Oh,
you're more,
hell yeah! I'm sitting here going,
you're more obsessed with what's outside than what's inside.
What a perfect invasion plan. I mean, if you can look at it in one way, because it's always fascinated me. And this recently, there's a story in Indonesia of, I think it was 6 Christian missionaries went to an island that they were not supposed to go to. This is a isolated island by the United Nations. These are very, primitive people. And the first thing that they did, one of the missionaries took a picture. Well, that individual never left. He was eaten. And the other 5 barely escaped with their lives. But it's the same stories that we've heard in the Amazonian jungles as well.
Yeah, they've probably survived it, and they're the remnants of what was left before. So there's bound to be some sort of root memories and tales and legends and their societies of these things going on. Once we used to be like, maybe they used to have places like New York City, but they didn't. They did, a couple of them survived some cataclysm, so there's a handful of them left, and they're surviving in the rainforest quite happily now, as far as they're aware. Maybe that's how it's always been to them. But maybe once they were a civilization of billions, just like we are.
This is impactful, because it's the implications are far reaching. If you think about it, this reality that we live in now has become what they call a digital reality. We've talked about this before, that there is a digital surrogate of every one of us. The more time you spend online, the more that they have your image. They now can actually build a replica. Again, going in line, that if you see your reflection, they got you.
Yeah.
It's
I confuse my digital surrogate. Must be really messed up, because since I kind of cottoned onto this in the early days of Google and Yahoo and all that, I've just been searching for random weird stuff all the time that I have no interest in whatsoever.
keep it varied. That's what they
just to mess it up. So like, you want to give me adverts for stuff? Okay, give me adverts for dog nappies if you want, but I'm not going to ever buy one off you.
What they don't understand is that my package, I sent a virus. So, you know, it was never my soul, because there is a belief that when we come into this realm of density, that we only allocate so much energy to our existence. Some say it's about 35%, and we keep the true essence of ourselves, in a place where they can't find us. I don't know. I mean, there is a lot in there, but I do find it interesting that in many of the incantations of spells, that it focuses in many times on the soul. I mean, Solomon was very much into it, as you read the story of interacting with these archons, that it was more, not so much the physical manifestation of it as what was going on in the soulish realm, I guess.
It's like the as above, so below, as within, so without, isn't it? So if they can change what you're doing on your inside, then they got control over you to change what's going on the outside.
Well, you've really given me some thought on this mirror thing, because, you know, it's amazing, the whole culture now, selfies.
Yeah.
You know, everybody takes selfies. I don't like them.
Why would I want to look at this?
I have very few pictures of me growing up, because I wasn't around cameras, you know?
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. There's maybe a handful of maybe 10 images of me growing up.
Yeah.
There's not many.
And then I got into the whole, the one interesting thing when I got into the film and video industry was, what really struck me the first time I went out to Hollywood, was there is so much occultism associated with the industry. And what I found with a lot of people within the industry, and these were really creative minds, David, they were all practicing different forms of magic.
They must do. I haven't delved into that side of things. It's just dark enough. I didn't really want to go down those routes, but I'm fully aware of what does go on behind the scenes in those places. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They're all at it, as it were.
Well, here's a revelation for folks. The fact is, that's a very interesting aspect of film and its impact on us, and where those origins began with, and the whole thing about the industry is that in the curtain, where you don't get to see what's behind the curtain, but what's behind the curtain, and this is it's a fact, it's all predicated on a sex magic. We would not have video today, the compact disc today, where we have the digital technology, if it was not for the adult film industry.
Yeah, but it's those things that drive these things forwards, isn't it? If it wasn't going for those industries, then, well, look at the internet, for crying out loud. How many percentages of the bandwidth is taken up by
the recent study? 78% of the internet is done with pornography.
What a waste.
78%, folks. It's a huge number. Yeah. What you look at in comparison of what data that actually is being shared, and if you look at that, which you can, and when you look at pornography, it covers a broad arena. But yeah, it's primarily driven by, and including in that is dating websites, the social meetings. it's all
It's a lot of
driven.
energy.
Yes, sir. Thank you. That was the whole point.
It's a whole lot of energy. Whatever's being powered by that is supercharged, eh?
When I found out, I was a real proponent back in the 80s of beta. Betamax was the superior format, both in saturated color and audio, etc. But because of the porn industry and the distribution of VHS tapes, that the VHS became the standard in the industry, and it changed the whole industry.
Yeah. Was actually you can pause it and I get clearer images.
Oh yeah, and then that led to the CD-ROM. Yeah, and again, it's this thing called Magick.
Yeah, well, it's all a distraction as well, isn't it? Wayne? That's why Hollywood TV and things like this were also brought about, is to keep us perpetually distracted, keep them entertained. They're not going to think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm
Same
trying to
thing.
pull up something here so people can see as well, is how
It's
much this is. It's interesting. So here we go. So what we saw here recently, as I was preparing for this, David, is that the resurgence itself of magic is by the resurgence of witchcraft. And there is a difference. Witchcraft is not magic, and magic is not witchcraft.
No.
But both interact with each other. What's your take on that? This is, by the way, it's what this article is about.
Well, yeah, witchcraft's just like being a wizard, isn't it? It's just you're wise, you've gained knowledge, you've gained knowledge of the occult, the hidden ways and esoteric
Which
ways,
meaning wise woman.
things. Exactly. And then you just put in that into actual physical practice. I think that's what it means for me. So they're doing the same things, it's just that these guys are actually doing, not just learning.
And this is something that's interesting because the world is seeing the largest single exodus out of the organized religions. And it's very interesting now, sociologists have been watching this, is that for some, it's a very interesting phenomenon where humans are concerned. It seems like the majority of people need some sort of spirituality or some spirituality aspect in their lives.
Yeah.
Would you?
Well,
I would say I would agree with that.
I would totally agree with you in one form or another. Everybody wants to know that there's spirit, that there's going to be. It's down to the fear thing again, really, isn't it? That people want to know that there's going to be something afterwards. And if you've got proof of that in your lifetime, then happy days. You've got moral faith that when you do pass over, there is something else.
And this brings in the whole aspect of the counter to the modern day religions, is that now you have this dichotomy set up of a being that didn't exist, but we've invented it, we've created it, of a Satan, of a Lucifer. And even within this construct, David, there is a lot of confusion, a lot of misconception, deliberate, by the way. What's your thought on this, on the phenomenon of Satanism rising up? I mean, it's becoming very popular.
To me, it's just part of the duality system that we're in, and it's an ongoing agenda that's been played out for a very long time for a specific end goal. Obviously, with this kind of thing, you've got the good, the bad, and the ugly. As within us, we've got the good side and your bad side, if you want to put it like that. So we need the bad to know the good. You need the good to know the bad, don't you?
It's interesting, when I did that the series on the Satanic Bible, many people were commenting is that they were quite surprised that in many ways that there seems to have a much more gentleness to it. And I said, well, I can understand that.
That's because the good guy's the bad guy, really, isn't he? And this other thing's just a made-up construct who's doing his best to try and bring.
Some say that
I don't know the right word.
The church itself was founded on magic. It was founded on the grimoires of an ancient esoteric knowledge of basically learning how to control the mass population.
Yeah, well, I can very well believe that. They've been ancient techniques and psychologies that would be employable on the masses that they wouldn't even like now, the things that are going on now. We think we're so civilized, but these clever psychological tricks that are being played out on humanity, and 99.9% of them haven't even got a clue they're being played.
I got to
So
tell you,
0.1% is tragic, to be honest, Wayne.
it
To
is
see
tragic.
the things that you see people going through needlessly is unbelievable.
I was telling my wife this. I said, you
I
know,
don't mean that in a derogatory way to anybody, by the
no,
way.
we're having an intelligent discussion, folks. Is one of the greatest regrets I have, and I never saw it as the powerful spell that it was actually taking communion. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, yeah.
when you
For some
break that
people.
down, that is black magic of the highest. It freaks me out because, but I guess in one way I experienced it. I got out of it. But
Communion when you're breaking the bread and drinking the wine.
the blood in
Yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah.
body, yeah.
That's just turning you into a zombie, isn't it?
Well, you know, when I studied the Liber Lilith, there are some spells of invoking Lilith where you have to use menstrual blood.
Yeah, they're pretty dark, aren't they?
I,
I'm glad
listen,
you stopped there.
I ain't going any further, but
Yeah,
then
yeah.
look at the difference though. We're using metaphors in something that you see millions of people do every Sunday when they come together, is partaking in this ritual.
Yeah.
I mean, if you and I had our, you know, a house party and our guests walked in and we said, well, now the first thing you've got to do is drink some of this wine, but it's really blood. No, 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 it's really wine. And
Sounds like some of
here,
the house parties I used to go to, actually. You know,
I mean,
I'm an old rocker.
people will be going, oh shit.
Did I come to the right place?
Ah, laughter, folks. Okay. Well, I was going to get into some other books, but this hour has gone, David. This is like crazy. Anyway, someone was talking about the Necromonicon when I was reading. This is it. This is about the ancient ones, which is real interesting, David, as we round this out in understanding these forgotten ones. It seems like they're the ones who brought us this thing called magic.
Would make sense. Would make sense. We would probably have come in the creation side of things, come not long after these.
And if they come from the ether, well,
Which is
that's
where
just
we
a whole
come
different
from.
plane. Yeah, I mean, that's very strange. Very, very
Yeah,
strange.
I know we're running out of time rapidly, but the way I see it, right, or the way I'm coming to see it, is that we are the ether. I sound a bit like Julianne there, don't I? Hey, Julianne, if you're in there, by the way. That we are the ether with a light, with a thought itself. And to put it into a visual aspect, I know you've been watching, or you have seen, or you're aware of Roger Mudfossil University. He did a brilliant experiment. I don't know if you've seen it, where he puts the laser light, just simple red pen laser through the Venturi, just 2 tubes to speed it up. And he's managed to actually capture on film particles of light, which basically break down to 4 electrons and 4, forgot what the other one's called them. But when you see them, that photon, that particle of light forms a cube. 2 dipoles back to back. I got a little diagram here, but it's a bit, looks like I drew it in kindergarten, so I won't show you. I was working on it here. Yeah, so you got the 4 particles that make up a cube. Now, that cube is in the 3D, as it were. So if you wanted to harness it, or you wanted to control it, or you wanted to just encompass it from outside the 3D, you'd need higher state geometry. So you would need the 4th state, the 5th state of geometry. Now, when you see a cube in 4 space, that's a tesseract. When you see it in 5 space, it creates what basically looks like the tree of life. So the way I'm kind of coming to possibly see it, and through some ancient Atlantean stuff as well, is that it was almost as though there's a photon that's being, sorry if I'm going off tangent, the photon that's being sent through a crystal, like the Pink Floyd t-shirt, that's then being fractured, so there's the same light just in many different
Fractals, yeah.
parts out, and then it's gone out into the fractal. Now, within that fractal, then you can have unlimited potentiality and limited possibility for experience and what have you. But at some point during that mechanism, the hyperspace cube is being placed on top of it, imposed on top of that 3D cube, to either draw energy off it, control it, or maybe that's just what our physical body becomes. Similar, it's still very much a work in progress, this idea. But yeah, when you see it on the Roger Mud fossil, and you see that,
check that out.
It's the black and the white, basically the way Roger's describing it, and I think it's absolutely brilliantly the way he's describing it. You've got the light particles, not light as in sunlight, but you've got the light ones and the dark ones, and the dark ones want to get away from the light ones. Basically, I feel that this is probably harnessing energy, some sort of energy harvesting, or energy is taking energy from us. So yeah, I could go on around.
And that's magic. I mean, that's manipulating.
Yeah, exactly. That's where the Kabbalah came. I believe that's probably where the Kabbalah itself comes from, is the understanding that everything is this ether, light, mind, and to control it, you can come from a higher state down on it and control it.
Whereas, you know why I know it's a reality, David? I know that the ether exists because, again, this is going back to, my religious days, indoctrinating in that. One of the things I knew about faith was that faith is an element that is actually tangible, but it's of the ether. It's when I bring it in and combine it to what we call internal faith that, again, it is the substance of things hoped for. It's that substance, and people don't pay enough attention to what substance is.
Yeah, well, just look up in the sky, whether we ether.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm also sure the clouds aren't quite everything that we've been told, as you know. The more you know, the less you know. I'm sure the clouds are more to do with, I think, a group consciousness and sort of how everybody's feeling, or that kind of thing, rather than just being, some water's evaporated, it's up there, it's ready to come back down again. I think it's so much more than that.
I tell them all the time when I'm outside, I said, I know you son of a bitches are up there. Just because I can't see you with my physical eyes doesn't change a thing. And it's not in a derogatory way. It's in a playful way. There is a whole realm of beings that are right above us. I mean,
dominions. There's dominions all over the place, isn't there? Principalities and dominions.
Thank you. That's what they are. It is dominions.
Yeah.
Oh, David, this has just been, you see, this is what, by the way, talking about Roger, did you see it was a Tiger T1 Panther tank from World War II.
Yeah.
That they found buried.
Yeah.
Fossilized to stone.
Yeah. Just brings more and more credence to his theories.
Doesn't it though? The top of the turret was still metal, but everything below ground had turned to stone. I mean, of that tank.
Yes, nucleophilic invasion.
I mean, when I was in school, they said, well, to fossilize to rock is what? Tens of thousands, millions of years. And here we saw it take place in less than 70.
Have you seen the one where he's found a boot for somebody who died in a desert somewhere and it took about 10 years to do it?
No, I haven't seen that one.
I think it may have even been less than 10 years. All that's left is like a cowboy boot and like from just below the knee down. But everything except for what's right down in the boot is fossilized.
Amazing. Oh man, David, this is why I enjoy the time we're in. I mean, it's an adventure. It's someone wrote and said, well, you don't seem to be, hooked up to one particular belief system. That's the problem. It is a system. There is a lot within the system.
Exactly. And you're not going to be able to find anything like that. That's where I know you've done the same thing, where we've studied all, well, maybe not all because there's so many, but all the religions, all the occult sciences and theologies and what have you, all the philosophies. It's not just one. You need to go through all of them to find the pearls.
You have to. I mean, if you don't, and that is what my goal is. I realize that I won't be here long enough to ascertain the fullness of the knowledge, But the way I look at it, if I have enough of the essence, I can build on it on the other side.
Yeah.
And
like somebody said recently, if you jump in cold water and you're going to freeze, aren't you? If you're already used to jumping in cold water, you're going to be okay.
yeah, there's some people that practice that every day. In fact, it's very healthy for you. I don't do it, but you know.
No, I wouldn't fancy that. I did used to do a similar practice every day before school, but I knocked that on the head after high school.
In the year of my enlightenment, of my vision quest, I did used to do that. I enjoyed swimming in rivers that were, well, as I used to say, that's the only time every man is created equal.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
You're right
David, this has been, I so enjoy it. It is like a special treat to be able to get with you and just to sit down and hang out. I mean, this has been an amazing conversation.
Thank you, Wayne. That's how I feel every day tuning into you. It's always something, always something to think about.
Well,
sorry you've neglected everybody in chat as well. Hello.
That's right. Yeah, folks, in everyone. Looks like I need Visine on my eye. It's an interesting shirt. That's all I can say. Well, David, you want to say anything to the audience, to the Soul Tribe? I mean, I think I got
you all. Keep your spirits up. Don't live in fear, guys. Whatever they're throwing at you, don't live in fear. Have hope. Very, very big one. That's part of what the t-shirts and everything's all about, trying to give some people something. I know it's only a little start, but give some people something positive to look at and have hope. But yeah, just as Brian always said, and I'm coming to say, because I sound like Jesus to my kids so often, to treat each other like you want to be treated. Stop making me sound like it. But seriously, be the frequency that you want to receive. It's true.
It is true.
What you're putting out, I've seen it now so many times, so many people, so many scenarios, and I've observed it. So be the frequency that you want to receive, guys. I love you all.
People love your guitars in the background, David.
I better learn to play them one day, haven't I?
They say make a joyful noise. I mean, you know. I used to back in the day, and
yeah, I used to. My arthritis isn't. I can't play too well these days. A little bit of Johnny B good, and I'm happy.
I've got some expensive ones upstairs, and Lynn says, "Why don't you sell them?" I said, "Hell no."
No, you can't go selling them.
Can't do selling. She said, "Well, you never play them anymore." I go, "But you don't understand."
Yeah, your soul's in there.
That's exactly it. You know, I ought to pick it up. Well, everyone loved the show. We love all y'all. It's just fun. We're just talking. Yes, I'll tell you, we will be getting together, and I'll tell you, we'll have to do like a 3 or 4 day event, David, because I have a sense that the nights will lead well into the early mornings. I just see it happening.
We could easily do that. We can just do a record session, and then we can air that afterwards if you like.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get you over here. I've been talking. We're going to be working on this. Thank you, Julie. She says, very thought-provoking. Yeah, look at those mirrors. You may want to go. Interesting thing about what I do with the mirrors, because, you know, I live with my wife, and there are mirrors in the house. When I go by, I just say, you are a good-looking fella. Or I'll say, you are a beautiful spirit being. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, if ever I do have to look into the mirror, I do something similar. I don't do it verbally, but I always make sure there's something positive going into that mirror. Not
exactly. Yeah. I always say, you look fabulous. You know, you've got that youth going thing. So it works. David, stay with me. This has just been fun. Everyone, just have yourself a good day. Much love to all of you. Hey, Gaia, how you and Paul doing? There's Ginger, and everyone loved it. They want you back on.
One last thing. Everybody watching, if you're with someone you love, turn to them and give them a hug and tell them you love them for me.
Ooh.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Appreciate that.
Woo. All right. Thank you, David. I just took that in. All right, everyone. We will see you later. Tune in tonight to the Steiger perspective over on Artists First. Y'all are going to need to look at that.